Woo! How's that for intro, Mark?
Gentlemen, some of my favorite beverages in that video. I saw a margarita, I saw a white Russian, I saw a bourbon, I think, on the rocks, and then a little champagne. Is that right?
Was Elvis in that video? Did I see Elvis Presley?
It felt like a little Viva Las Vegas happening there,
Yeah.
too, didn't it? Little bit of neon.
We're gonna pretend we have the rights. If Scott Dillon is on the line, we definitely have the rights to use Elvis's likeness.
Or an impersonator, maybe from Vegas or something. I don't know.
Exactly.
True.
How you doing, guys?
Good.
Doing great, man.
How are you?
Good. Happy summer.
Thank you. We're halfway through it already, it seems. It's been a long summer, as you know. It's been a long couple of years waiting to get these cinema series soundbars out. So we're excited. Everyone's here. Thank you, everyone, for joining. I'm excited to talk about these bars.
We're excited for this, too. We've been waiting for a while now, Matt, haven't we?
Yeah, absolutely. I've been looking forward to this for a while. And I've got a ton of graphics and stuff to show you guys as we to show everyone as we pop up and talk about different topics. But do we want to go through some quick introductions, Mark?
Sure. Yes. Welcome, everybody. This is yet another edition of the Listening Lounge, which we started at the beginning of the pandemic, and this will be an ongoing enterprise. I think we just love the direct contact with our faithful Klipsch fans. Mark Cassavant, been with Klipsch for a while, and my partner in crime, Matt Summers, and Mike has been a regular guest. He's really a fixture now. I don't know if we can call him a guest.
Sorry, everybody.
Cheers. I know that you guys have a beverage too. I've got a margarita. I took the first recommendation on that video.
That's fantastic. I'm drinking, as always, red wine in a metal cup.
Yes, you are.
I'm drinking a Labatt Blue, Canada's finest Pilsner, courtesy of my brother-in-law, Kyle, who's in town from Alaska. And the first thing he wanted to do was get a case of Labatt for some reason, because that's what he missed. But here we are. So
cheers,
guys.
Cheers, everybody.
Cheers, everybody. And of course, remind everybody, Matt and Mike, what you guys do.
Senior Global Creative Director for Klipsch. Been with Klipsch for quite a while. Quarter century, really creeping up on that. That sounds old, doesn't it? It does sound old.
You look good.
Yeah, thanks, man. I'm well preserved. It's the red wine.
He started when he was 12. We were much more open to child labor back then. So
yeah, absolutely.
Matt doing graphic design at 10 years old for Klipsch. My name is Mike Barato. I'm the senior product manager for connected audio. So soundbars, powered monitors, really anything that plugs into a wall and connects to a network and creates a kick-ass home theater system. So welcome, everybody. Thanks for being here. Great segue
For our topic at hand today. So it's called the Cinema Series, but we're focusing in on two models, the C1200, Cinema 1200, I should say. C1200 is like our code, and then the Cinema 800.
Yeah, I want to talk a little bit about, first of all, I want to say, we've got a healthy group and a very lively group in the chat right now.
Cool.
So excited to see everybody there, excited to talk about these products and dig into it. We want to talk about today's giveaway, top of the hour, because it's going to be based on best question that we will announce post-show. It's too much pressure to try to pick that best question during the show because there are hundreds of them, but we will announce post-show. But what are we giving away today, guys? Do we know?
The top of the line. That's what.
The top of the line. We are giving away a Cinema 1200 soundbar and a brand new Apple TV 4K. So that's exciting.
For like the whole package.
Yeah, for the whole package. So you can stream all your content. You're ready to go, man.
Yep. All you got to do is sign up for Netflix, the high res version to get Atmos, and you're done. You're good to go.
Oh yeah. God, I can't wait to get into some of that. I want to hear some of the the demos that you guys think are just mind blowing on this system.
Yeah.
I will disclaim that normally I have a little bit to do with sort of the products that we're talking about with this, but I had a considerable amount of exposure with this product, being on the early beta testing team, and sort of being blown away by its acoustic ability, but also being there to provide feedback to the group. What could we make better? What could we improve? And I will tell you that this product has continued to up the bar, if you will. You like that? See what I did there? On what is possible in this small form factor. So we're going to be talking about the Cinema 1200 today, the entire Cinema series line, but the 800 as well. But really focusing on the 1200 and the true Dolby Atmos that's in that.
Right.
And they're both Atmos decoding. They do a great. Right. The 800 does a great job. And Mike, we want to get you off to the races. Going into the product itself. I would add that briefly that this room is full of component products, but this is where I've had my Cinema 1200 as well. And I got to tell you, the key phrases that I wrote down for today was plug and play, set and forget, and then easy peasy. It's just been a blast to get blown away by the system. Yep. Considering what I'm used to in here, it is a powerful product. Both of them, the Cinema 800 also, the girls run that through the ringer every day. And, I was going to ask you guys, it's kind of a rhetorical question, but, before we get into the product, what defines a home theater enthusiast? And the name of this product line is Cinema. Yeah. Okay. And I'll just give you my quick take on it. It's not necessarily being a geek with the gear. Okay. I think anybody who is a movie enthusiast is a home theater enthusiast. And here's why this line will take the most casual movie watcher, listener, to the home theater enthusiast level, because they're going to discover how easy it is now. I mean, the soundbar customer, they love easy, right? I just need better sound for my TV because my TV speakers are terrible. But this line is going to take that customer into home theater enthusiast territory. It's going to be so fun for them to get rocked just like they do at the movie theater. So go ahead, you guys. Any comments you have on that?
Well, I will just say, Mark, that these bars aren't built like your typical sound bar. These bars are built like our real Klipsch loudspeakers, starting with wood box construction. And when people think of sound bars, they think of cheap plastic bars that are, you buy them at your local big box store, you set them up and you set it and forget it. And it's essentially like a louder version of your TV speakers. And that's not what these bars are intended to do. And I know you and I have had many conversations about the fact that these are real home theater systems and home theater speakers that just happen to be in the form factor of a soundbar. The form factor is great, sits nicely under your TV, mounts on a wall, but we wanted to bring really an elevated experience within that form factor. So the wood box construction brings that extremely resolute cabinetry, that same build quality that you get with our premium loudspeakers.
Yeah, it's MDF. It's the same inert, musically ideal material that we use in all of our component loudspeakers. I mean, MDF, medium density fiberboard. It's the real stuff. It's not it's not plastic that resonates on its own.
Correct. And we pair that with, of course, our Tractrix horn technology, which is the exact same Tractrix horn technology we use in our professional cinema speakers, our reference Premier line, our reference line. All of our premium home theater offerings use the same horn technology. So why wouldn't these? And you can see them on the bar. You can point them out to your friends. You can point them out to any other enthusiast that you know of. This is why this bar sounds so good. It's because of that Tractrix horn technology.
It gives them kind of an unfair advantage. I don't think it's unfair, but the fact that the horns deliver a sound that is bigger than the form factor, and it gives us an unfair advantage because it allows us to move more air effortlessly.
Right.
And a small little tweeter or driver setup just can't compete, because the horn actually makes the driver act as if it's larger than its physical size. It moves more air with less distortion. I mean, it's an inherent advantage of our loudspeaker lines in general, but it makes sense to absolutely put 3, left, center, right, in the bar itself, these horn loaded high frequency mid-range drivers, and also long throw woofers to match, to keep up. So very great dynamics in the front. Yeah.
Correct. And for those of you that are familiar with horn technology, or maybe who aren't, if you go to a large arena, or you go to a large commercial cinema, all of the speakers in those installations will be horn loaded, because it is a better way to get more sound and throw sound a longer distance, or to a larger area. And that same technology, or that same advantage is true for these horn loaded soundbars. We're getting more sound out into the area because of that horn loaded technology, like Mark said.
I want to just jump in a minute and just maybe remind everybody, or introduce everybody to, this is a fundamental concept that goes all the way back to Paul W. Klipsch.
Yes.
This is high efficiency. This is low distortion. Matter of fact, the Paul Klipsch quote that I think applies best to this is when he said that, my primary life's work was getting the most amount of performance out of a given amount of space. And I think these sound bars, being as svelte as they are, Mark, you asked the question earlier, and I do want to answer that real quick. Was what is home theater, and what is good sounding cinema, and all of that? I will say that my experience with this particular sound bar, I started off with this thing. I only have a few places in the house I could actually put a sound bar of this magnitude, this sort of force. But I put it in the living room. I started there. And what was interesting was, because of the cinematic experience we have as a society, a lot of us have used our TVs as the center hub of our entertainment. But beyond that, if we have a 2-channel listening system, say with a nice solid state or tube amp or whatever, we also tend to integrate that into the same space. And so what I found was that I could keep my fortes up with my 2-channel listening system and my high-end critical listening environment and my sub, and then add the soundbar into that space as well, and get the entire cinematic environment. Now, I will, probably concede a little bit that I ended up watching a lot more movies than I did listening to 2-channel audio with that system in there, because it was new and because it was delightful to listen to. But all of that can exist in the same kind of space, and I think you can get it's a different customer and a different experience. But man, this experience did knock me out when I heard it for the first time, completely tuned and dialed in. It was awesome, which was right out of the box, by the way. You're plugging in an HDMI cable, and that's
great point.
It's great. It's ready to go.
Yeah,
out of the box power. I got to say this before I forget. You guys, now I'm getting up there. I'll forget this in 5 minutes. But out of the box, these things are meant to perform in the typical environment today. The 800 is in kind of a larger great room, and the settings the standard settings are designed to be cinematic, if you will, add a little oomph to movies. And then, of course, I listen to a lot of music. I love streaming to these with the streaming music services. So for music, they are absolutely ready for a party if you want to crank music through these things. So the 10-inch on the 800, the 12-inch on the 1200, they're designed for less than ideal positioning. Out of the box. And then, of course, you can adjust, and Mike will get into that. But in a large space where you don't want to run wires, but, as Mike said, the bar, HDMI, the sub, wireless, the surrounds, wireless. You just plug them in, and you can be up and running and rocking a large room, a large space.
Yes.
Quickly. And that impressed the heck out of me, because, some sound bars, you're cranking them to within an inch of their life, all the competitive products we checked out. But the Klipsch, man, they're not breaking a sweat. I was just blown away by the power that they have and the ease of the sound delivery.
So I feel like since we have visitors and viewers that are of all different walks of life and becoming at this in different ways. We have some people that are very interested in the technical parts of this, and some people that are very interested in what is Atmos, what does the bar do. I feel like we should start at the beginning. We have a video that is an animated features video about the bar that, if it's okay with you guys, I would like to show. And then Mike, you can fill in the blanks after that if for anything. I think that will cover like probably 50% of the questions we're getting right now.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Britt, do you mind showing that? Oh, I'm so zen right now. I'm so zen.
Okay, Matt, I have a challenge for you because it is so zen. But when you crank these things, it's anything but zen. I mean, it's rockin' sock'em robots. I mean, you need to do the other version where you got some of your crazy rock music of like somebody unpacking it and having a party, you know, cranking you know what out of these things, because
we got another video later. Yeah.
You need to do the alternative version of that.
So guys, while the video was playing, I noticed a question. Somebody read that the bar does not support Dolby True HD, and that is absolutely not true. The bars do support Dolby True HD. So please make no mistake, we are not compressing any audio with these bars. If you're passing True HD, that's what you're getting on the way out. I wanted to clarify that for the group.
Right out of a Blu-ray player. Yeah, absolutely. You know, I mean, it'll take it and make it great. Yeah. I also noticed, you know, I've got the Dolby Atmos test disc, and I've tested beyond 7.1.4. I mean, it knows what to do as far as processing between front and rear height channels. I mean, it'll take advanced Atmos formats, and it knows what to do. It has to, you know, it's Dolby licensed product. But so yeah, it's
for those that don't. For those that don't know, Mike, can you just walk us through a little bit about how these bars work with Dolby Atmos and what it is and what it does?
Yeah,
I'd love to start at ground zero.
Yeah, so for those of you that are on, and I'm sure many of you know what Dolby Atmos is, but Dolby Atmos is essentially a version of object-based audio, which means when the sound designers and sound mixers and sound editors, when they put the soundtrack for a movie together, you're actually navigating objects as or sound effects as objects and not assigning them to specific channels. The way that what makes Dolby Atmos so powerful is that you're actually rendering these audio objects into spaces in a room. There's a virtual room in the mixing software, and the mix editors or the sound editors and sound mixers place the sound effects at specific spots in the room. So when we talk about Dolby Atmos decoding, we do talk about channels, because that's how, everyone in the audio realm knows home theater systems, right? 5.1.4, 7.1.4. But really, the bar doesn't really see channels. The bar accepts these audio objects, and then based on how they're encoded with Dolby Atmos, the bar says, okay, I know this sound effect needs to go in the back corner of the room. So regardless of whether you have the rear surrounds that are included with the Cinema 1200, or you have the Cinema 800 and you have not purchased the additional optional rear surrounds for that, the bar is going to take essentially the speakers that it has, or the channels that it has available to it, and put that object in the room. Now, obviously, it's going to be more accurate, more dynamic, and more realistic the more channels you have. But Dolby Atmos is incredibly powerful because you're not really missing out on the full 360-degree experience, no matter how many channels you have, whether it's a 3.1 system, a 5.1 system, or the full 5.1.4 of the Cinema 1200. So that's what makes Dolby Atmos so powerful. And of course, the first consumer-facing feature of that is sound effects above your head. So again, 360 degrees all around you, and it's to this day the best surround sound experience that we've heard.
Yeah, it's state of the art, and it was only a matter of time before it would reach this category, the soundbar category. And one thing that people need to know is any content that you feed the bars, PCM included, automatically gets upmixed. When you select the standard mode, which is on the LED display, comes through the fabric. It's really cool display, everybody. When you have the standard mode, it automatically goes into Atmos upmixing. So you enjoy your music that you're streaming, any content on television that just might be stereo, Dolby Surround, and then of course dedicated Atmos content is passed through. So it's altered. But when you have any other source, you get upmixed, and that's a huge cool feature about the Dolby Atmos products, because you are getting the benefit of the extrapolation from the surround data of the height channels. You get that, what this shows, that bubble of cool immersion, no matter what you're feeding the bar. And that's a cool feature of the bars. Now, of course, your AVRs have it. You just got to find it in the menu, And my advice is find that brick switch and break it. Leave it on.
Break it off.
You don't have to worry about that with the sound bars. It's built in. It's ready to go.
Zachariah, that's a great question. While in standard mode everything is upmixed, there is a direct mode, just like on an AVR. So if you want to listen to 2-channel music or 2.1, put it in a direct mode, and you're good to go. So direct mode is just like on an AVR. What comes in is what goes out, but standard mode is sort of the default that we love here at Klipsch, because it upmixes everything and gives you that 360-degree experience.
A couple of things I would add as well. We've answered this question, or had this question asked probably on a million different ways. But it's, what if my ceiling is vaulted, or my ceiling is, maybe a different shape, or, how does Atmos work with that? Yeah,
great question. So I actually have a vaulted ceiling in my house, and it's the predominant space that I've been doing the soundbar testing. And yes, you have to sort of crank up the volume on the height channels, but it is a very compelling experience still. And that's, one of the options we offer you right in the bar. You can turn up the height channels. I'm sorry, I'm losing my mind here, on both the bar and the rear surrounds on the 1200 to really make sure those height effects come through regardless of ceiling height. So I can attest Dolby Atmos sound effects on I think it's a 20-foot vaulted ceiling that we have, come through loud and clear, and it's again a 360-degree experience.
I can attest also real quick, the C800, sorry, the Cinema 800 that I have in where the girls watch. I've done something with the surround threes I've shared with Mike, and I would not hesitate to recommend to our customers. So the surround threes take the surround information and the height information and combine it, right? Just like the front of the bar does. And what I did was I put some little felt feet on the back of the speaker and laid them down so that they're going up. So surround and elevation information is firing at the ceiling, and it works great. It's fantastic. So that's a little fun trick you can do with the surround threes. Obviously, the rear channels in the Cinema 1200 have the surround firing at you and then the up firing height channel, so they are discrete. But it's kind of fun to experiment in your space and find out what sounds cool.
And that's a really good point from a sales standpoint. You know, if you're buying the 1200, the Cinema 1200 system, it comes with the surround sound speakers with the Dolby Atmos up firing speakers built in to both the bar and the surrounds. But if you're buying the Cinema 800, you have the ability to generate Dolby Atmos from just the bar itself, or you can add on the surround threes as an add-on. A Cinema 800 5.1 system is what it's called, what it'll be called. So there's multiple different ways you can configure this. You know, the other thing that I would like to maybe just address real quick, and Mike, I think you sort of piqued my interest about this, was the idea of when you is when you have this this Atmos effect, which for anyone who's not experienced this, go see a movie with Atmos. You know, get a demo. I'm engineering stuff on a regular basis here in the studio, and it's always 2-channel. That's where I live, in the 2-channel music space. And to me, going from mono to stereo was an amazing leap, because suddenly you have imaging. What the Atmos effect did for me when I put that in my living room and started watching, Atmos encoded programs, or even stuff that was upmixed, was it turned that axis on its side, and suddenly you've got the third dimension this way as well. And you talk about, well, we only have 2 ears, right? But you can also hear when a plane flies over your head, or something's below the ground, like a subway or whatever. So you can detect that stuff. So maybe the accuracy of the human hearing has not advanced far enough to be able to get that specific as we can with left and right, but the vertical stuff is amazing. The stuff that should live up there is amazing. It does live up there. It's very cool.
But it absolutely can. We talk a lot about sort of audiology and especially on the headphone side. How is your ear shaped and how does that impact the sound? But that most people, and you can't see over my like COVID hair or under my COVID hair, but most people don't realize the reason we can perceive sound above our head or sound behind us is because our ears kind of stick out like this, right? If we just had holes in the side of our head and the sound waves from the back hit our ear at the same time as the sound waves from the front or over our head, we wouldn't be able to tell the difference. Obviously, it's an evolutionary development to keep us from being eaten. But we absolutely have the perception. It's not just left and right. And I think people make the assumption of, stereo is as much as I need because I only have 2 ears. No, like you said, we can hear an airplane fly over our head. And that's because of the shape of our ears and how how the sound wave has to wrap around the ear. And then we perceive that delay and we're able to identify the direction of sound. So why would we want to limit ourselves to 2-channel?
Right. Stereophonic it really refers to 3-dimensional sound. It's why your eyes, 2 eyes, you see 3-dimensional visual. So with 2 ears, you get a sense of every direction and height. And, people might be wondering, the research that Dolby did to shape the frequency response of what a sound sounds like from above versus directly at you. That's the secret sauce of the Atmos equation, basically, and what we're licensing from them. So it really does work. I think there are early detractors about, how can that work? But Dolby, these
I was one of them.
Yeah, and I just knew that with Dolby's expertise, and I will add this, with Horn technology in our component products, I knew that we would bring a strong offering. In fact, so strong that the Dolby people own it, and Well, I don't know if people do know that, but we've talked about that in some of our prior Dolby Atmos videos. If any of you would like a little more in depth, we have a video with Brett Crockett, their VP of research. He's a brilliant guy, and just that whole team is just amazing. But there was another question I saw. I'll just address this real quick. Calibration. Let me just say that if you have a Klipsch system and it's a closed loop system like these sound bars with surrounds and subs built into it, it is calibrated precisely by the engineers for matching up and delivering a consistent experience. And the directivity control that we're utilizing, either with the high channels or the surrounds or the horn-loaded front channels, they absolutely help calibrate your room. And what I mean by that is they're not sending sound to where you don't want it. And that's where the room interacts more. If you have a Klipsch system, you already own a somewhat calibrated system. And what I mean by that is it is really focusing the sound into your listening area. It's not sending it anywhere it shouldn't, unless it's intended with high channels, with Atmos, for example. But calibration is something that maybe is more for an open-ended system, maybe more appropriate for an AVR with unknown loudspeakers. But because these are closed loop systems, and that means just totally, completely engineered amplifiers, equalization, driver parameters, the actual transducers, everything is so closely engineered and focused towards a performance level. And that includes frequency response. I remember seeing in the video, Matt, the spectrum analyzer, and you know, the subwoofers are also designed to precisely extend the response of the bars to the deepest depths, which I think will surprise people. People who maybe aren't used to really powerful, deep bass out of a soundbar system. The Klipsch systems will surprise, and they should deliver that, because that's absolutely a very important part of the cinematic experience. So I don't mean to ramble, but I saw the calibration question, and I would just say that the acoustic experts at Klipsch, our engineering team, they're so fanatical about this. They really delivered an amazing acoustic performance package in these.
Yeah. I will say, we have heard some feedback that the subwoofer is too powerful. I mean, yeah, and that's fine. You know, I get it. You know, a room is a room. And there are only so many rooms that can handle a 12-inch 500-watt subwoofer. We have currently have an adjustment of -6 to +6 dB. So you can boost the subwoofer up +6, you can take it down -6. There is an additional option. If the subwoofer is too much for you, you can set the subwoofer to -6, then put the bar into night mode 1. And this is the case for the Cinema 1200 or the 800. If the bar is at -6, it will then cut that output by another 50%. So you're actually cutting the subwoofer by more than you can on the standard adjustment of +6, -6. So it's a little bit of a workaround. If you go to night mode 2, it will completely kill the subwoofer. So depending on your source, depending on your room, you might want to kick in that 50% cut. We do hear you. We are working on adding a little bit more adjustment flexibility on cutting the sub, because frankly, it's a 12-inch 500-watt sub. There are a lot of people out there, particularly soundbar customers, that have not heard a 12-inch sub with 500 watts of power. So,
and you know what? I'd like to, from a layman's standpoint, just interject what that subwoofer sounds like, because if you have not heard a 12-inch 500-watt sub before, I think your first impression would be that it's boomy, that there's a ton of bass in the room, it's crazy. But to me, what it does is it adds presence. Even things like vocal presence, it adds presence to the human voice. It adds presence to the, to not just a sound effect emulator. It's way more about the immersion. And so that's what I found as well. I've got a RSW 12 or something in the living room with my Fortes, just to roll off the bottom end of that. But this sub does that exact same thing. I will tell you that the guys who tune this at Klipsch, Mike and Chris and all those guys who spent a ton of time on this. What's amazing is it's a very well balanced system, in my opinion, and so well balanced that I think that even the bass heads that want more bass, there's also an option for that as well on the sub. to go the other direction.
Absolutely. So one of the very unique features about the 1200 and the 800 is there are subwoofer wired outs. So essentially pre-outs on the bar and on the subwoofer, which allows you to do a couple things. One, it allows you to add, depending on your wired sub situation, if your wired sub has an additional line out, you can add, in theory, an infinite number of subs to your soundbar system, which I'm looking at you, Mr. Cassavant. But having the output on both the bar and the subwoofer allows you the flexibility of placing that wired sub maybe in the opposite corner of the room from your wireless sub, and you can tie it wired to the bar itself. Or you want your wired sub maybe just on the say you have your wireless sub in the back corner of the room, you want a wired sub on the other corner in the back of the room. Then you take the wired output from the subwoofer itself. The latency is so minimal. There's no difference from the wireless transmission to the wired transmission. The bar compensates for that delay, but it's much less than 5 milliseconds, so you can't even perceive it. But giving you that wired flexibility or that placement flexibility with both the wireless sub and then the wired additional sub or 2 subs or 3 additional subs just makes a much more flexible experience. So again, we wanted to make a soundbar system that could emulate movie night out at the theater, which maybe some of us don't remember what that's like from before COVID, but I assure you we're getting back to it.
Yeah.
And it will bring that feeling of, Friday night at the movies, the lights go down, the sound comes up, and the first thing you hear as a moviegoer is that bass kicking you in the chest. And we wanted to give you that same experience.
You're damn right. I mean, I would just say that the flexibility of these systems is amazing. We know that people want convenience, but they want performance.
Yes.
And in these large rooms, it's an open room. Maybe you don't have walls everywhere. You've got an open space to a dining room, kitchen. That's the whole point of a wireless soundbar system, where you just plug it into your local AC outlets.
Right.
And when the subwoofer can't be placed ideally, it has to go here, it has to go there. This system is designed with acoustic headroom where you can crank it and still deliver powerful bass in the listening position. People may know, they may not know. I'll give the little tip. I placed my sub based on the old trick of I plugged it in, put it in my chair, which is right there. And then I went around the room to find out where to put it. And I found a spot which was not where I thought I would put it. But that's where the bass is coupled. And then I can't tell where the bass is coming from when I'm sitting in my chair. It's amazing how that works.
Yeah.
So people, when you get these things at home, try the little trick, put the sub in your chair, play some music or something with a lot of bass content. Just go around your room, find out where the bass is strongest, along a corner, along a wall, somewhere in the room. And that's where you put the sub. And it works. And then again, if you really want to have your, hair put on fire, put 2 in the room. Or as Mike said, unlimited.
Yes.
But it's amazing how powerful. And I can't wait to talk about the demo stuff. I don't know what's next. Oh, somebody asked about dialogue mode. How does this with low volume listening? There are 3 dialogue modes. Mike's going to explain it. But my favorite, and this is, again, one of those set and forget, it's dialogue number 2. I think it really raises the intelligibility at low volume, where your ear rolls off. High frequencies roll off at low volume levels, just like bass. Fletcher-Munson loudness curve. And that's the engineer in me. But anyway, when you put the mode of dialogue 2, it gets that intelligibility just great at low volume listening. So, Mike, why don't you give us the technical description?
Yeah. So what we found in competitive research and looking at what everyone else on the market is doing with soundbars, when it came to dialogue enhancement mode, they were generally doing one of 2 things. They were either raising the center channel level. You guys know all of your dialogue comes through the center channel on a bar if you have one. So they're either doing that, or they were adjusting the EQ of the entire system to make vocals more intelligible. Both good solutions, but each one has its disadvantages to the other. So what we said with the Cinema Series soundbars is, why not do both of those things? So with the 800 and the 1200, if you're in dialogue mode 1, and we'll talk about what dialogue mode 1 means, it actually raises the volume or raises the output of the center channel by 2 dB. It also boosts the EQ of the entire system between about 800 hertz and 2K to raise vocal intelligibility. So not only is that vocal or that dialogue track louder, but it's more intelligible. Because if you can't understand what someone is saying in the first place, depending on your source material, turning it up generally isn't going to change that. You're still going to not hear what they're saying. It's just going to be louder compared to everything else in the soundtrack. So by doing both of those things, we are ensuring that not only is the dialogue easier to hear, it's also easier to understand.
And does anybody... Okay, go ahead, Mike.
Well, I mentioned, no, that's okay. I mentioned dialogue mode 1. We also found that competitors were doing, dialogue enhancement mode on or off. So you had one option with dialogue enhancement. We actually have 3 dialogue enhancement modes. So every time you go up from 0 or dialogue off to dialogue enhancement mode 1 or dialogue mode 1 to dialogue mode 2, it boosts that center channel another 2 dB, and it raises that EQ boost from 500 hertz or about 800 hertz to 2K or 3K. It raises that EQ bandwidth or boosts that EQ in that frequency band, so it's even more intelligible. So I know some of the reviews we've seen have said this is very cool. Don't bother using dialogue mode 3 because it's pretty harsh sounding and it's pretty much all dialogue mode. But
at low levels, at super low levels,
I have to say this because it is content dependent.
My favorite part of my job is getting Mark Cassavant extremely fired up about reviews and
anything really.
Here's the thing. If you watch YouTube, if you watch Netflix, if you watch Prime, if you watch Disney Plus, and you've got your Apple TV, or maybe it's coming directly from your TV, if you have a Blu-ray connected, if you're watching old DVDs, if you're streaming Spotify, if you're streaming Tidal, if you're streaming Qobuz, I've done all this, and the variation in content and spectral quality, I'll say, is so varied amongst all of these sources that the very essence of Klipsch is you can dial it to be proper with whatever your source content is, and you can make it rock. Some of the stuff, I mean, you stream some MP3 files or whatever, maybe it'll be a little thin sounding. Some of the YouTube stuff can be thin sounding. Netflix, sometimes bass is overbearing, how they stream the LFE, low frequency effects channel through Dolby Surround or whatever. Whatever your content is, it can be bass heavy. Matt, you know this. So do you, Mike. You both produce your own music. The taste of the producer or the engineer, it comes through, and maybe it doesn't work for your room. But these systems have flexibility to dial it in to what is proper for you and your room. I know that at low volume listening, I was going to make a joke earlier. Does anybody put on subtitles even though you can hear what they're saying? Like when I watch Tenet,
Yes.
I put the subtitles on because I want every detail.
Yeah, you won't miss anything.
Muttering in the background, and you're not supposed to hear it. However, the subtitles are there. Oh, that's what they're saying. It's like you're eavesdropping on the people in the movie.
And you still couldn't understand the plot of Tenet.
Well, I'm in my second viewing, and now I see things now. It's kind of like, what was that movie with Bruce Willis? What was that called?
The Sixth Sense.
Yeah, right. It's like the second time, it's a totally different, totally different deal. But, go ahead.
If I could, Mark, I want to interject a couple of things real quick. One, we talked about you mentioned at the very beginning this system was sort of set it and forget it. Well, I'm gonna add a little asterisk to that, which is with the remote that it comes with, the ability to content dependent add to the height channel or add to the center channel depending on what we need, and knowing where those spots are on the remote. It's real easy. You just bump, and then you're right there. You hear more vocals or you hear more height channel. So set it and forget it, I think, is great for the bass line, but content dependent. You watch something and you're like, man, even a concert film, you're like, I can't hear the lyricist, the singer very much. I want to crank that up a little bit. Yeah. But one of the things I wanted to ask you guys, and we're getting a lot of questions about this. Well, actually, two-part question. One, do I need a receiver to do all this decoding and then go into the bar? And then two, does my TV need to be able to decode Atmos?
No. That's
so the answer is no. The answer is no for everything.
Double zero. You know, when you have a TV that you're receiving Netflix, I learned this on this Sony. You have to know how to get that Atmos signal to the bar unfettered. And there is a direct surround format mode that you've got to get into your TV menu to make sure, and then you can confirm it with the bars. When you hit the format button, you can confirm that Dolby Atmos is getting to your bar. And maybe we do another session on how to set up.
But single HDMI, right? Yeah. Single HDMI out of the TV, and then
the
bar does all the work. The bar does all the work.
HDMI eARC, one of the newer TVs that has the enhanced audio return channel. And then you're done. You've got Netflix, come into your big, beautiful, whatever TV, pick your favorite brand, a good brand, a renowned brand, a reliable brand. Because, the home theater experience is about the quality video as well. And I'll get to one of my favorite demo scene. It touches on both video and audio, but eARC is one of the newer features. Now, of course, Atmos from a Blu-ray player. That's what Mike talked about earlier, True HD, which is not compressed. It's full resolution. But let me also just say, home theater enthusiasts, are we about the tech? I'm about the enjoyment. And now I'm becoming, as I get up there, a little more about the convenience, because I will say that being able to just hit a button, power on, go to Netflix, boom, I'm watching Atmos, and it's my TV remote controlling everything. That's another beautiful thing about that HDMI connection. It's so HDMI, darn easy.
The TV remote controls the bar, right? The sound, the level of the bar.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. And once I get those settings, just right, I don't make any more adjustments. I'm good to go. So it's so easy to come in here, boom, watching a cool movie. Latest release.
And one thing I would mention is that I took that. I mentioned that I took the system up and made it my primary bedroom television, because at the end of the night, that's where we're really watching movies a lot of times. You just go up and get in bed and you're like, man, it's 11:30. I still want to see the last episode of Succession or whatever. But I put the bar in there, and one of the things I noticed, because I was running it a little different than a lot of people do, I was running Apple TV into the television, and then the television into the bar. And what I noticed was the volume control on my Apple TV remote also controlled the bar. I was getting all kinds of feedback, so it was like I ended up with just one remote, which was fantastic.
The new HDMI universe. It's interesting,
Yeah.
Yep. So I do want to, before we run out of time, there have been some questions about virtual assistant and multi-room connectivity. So I think the first question was about Spotify. The user, the audience member mentioned it as play anywhere, and that's what they call technically Spotify Connect. And these bars are equipped with Spotify Connect. And what that means, if you're running Spotify, you can open up the Devices tab on your Spotify app. It's a little button that shows an iPod or an iPad and a computer or something like that. And the bar will show up in that menu. And that means you can actually stream directly from the bar and use your iPhone, your computer, whatever device is logged into the Spotify account to actually control the playback on the bar. The bar also has Amazon Alexa and Google Assistant. It works with those. So if it is on a network, it will communicate with Google Assistant. It will communicate with Amazon Alexa. You can say, hey, Alexa, play the Beatles on my Cinema 1200, or play the Beatles in the living room. However you've set up the soundbar in the app, or in the Alexa app, or in the Google Home app, you can play directly to it with your voice assistant, or through the app on your phone, or on your tablet. So extremely, extremely convenient. And that also allows you to integrate the bar into a Google Home or Amazon Alexa multi-room system or multi-room group. So I think a lot of people don't understand that you can actually group speakers in Google Home or in Alexa, just like you can with some of the more popular, big brand multi-room systems.
Mm-hmm.
And it's extremely flexible. So I've been running it at home with my Google system, and it's completely seamless.
I agree. I've enjoyed using the Cast feature. I have not had a product in the past where you have a device to stream easily music to, and I've just been at my desk or cranking music over in the other side of the house, and it's like another zone. It's just really cool. It's easy.
Yeah.
Exactly. We should probably get into. We've got about another 10 minutes left in the broadcast.
What?
Yeah, I know it goes so fast.
Don't we have another 30 minutes?
But I was thinking maybe a lightning round. It would be great to, Mike, if you've seen some other questions in the chat, why don't you just do some quick responses to some of those, and we can knock some of those out in the next 5 minutes.
Cool. Joe Reese, no Siri or AirPlay 2. Chip shortage. We had AirPlay 2 spec'd. We had Apple spec'd on this, and we couldn't get the hardware chips. So possibly a change to that in the future, but with everything going on in the world, it just didn't work out for us. John the Greek, do the soundbars have ARC? They actually have ARC and eARC. eARC allows you higher bandwidth transmission over HDMI 2.1 or more traditional ARC if you have kind of an older TV. Let's see. Oh, man. Where am I now? Now I'm scrolling. Scrolling.
That's okay, Mike. While you look, why don't we? I'd like to talk a little bit about some demos, and I know Mark's chomping at the bit to talk about some demos. Yeah. Mark, why don't you give us some of your favorite material on this? I'd like to hear from everybody on this.
So it's a quick one. It's a quick one, everybody. I discovered when Atmos became more available on Netflix, I discovered how to do it. We took our standard membership to the 4K HDR membership to get Atmos sound. And I've shown Blu-ray and the 4K discs before, but this is a Netflix production. Actually, I've been a little bit of a snob about Netflix production. How about a real movie? But I got to say that what kind of won me over was Chris Hemsworth in Extraction, and this particular movie. I like action movies, and this is where I'm in here alone cranking it up. The girls aren't in here. I close the door so they don't see the violence or whatever. But this movie really surprised me because the sound was ridiculous. Not only the sound, but the cinematography. I was like, what is this? It's like a new approach. He's jumping from building ledge to building ledge, rooftop to ground. I don't know what that sport is called, but it's in the Bond movies. It's
parkour.
But the camera guy is following him, so it's like you're one of his special forces guys with him. The camera is following all that movement. I don't know how they do it because I was just getting a little dizzy. It is intense, and then you're hearing the relative sound as you're going with him and chasing the bad guys. It blew my mind. So what makes a home theater enthusiast? I'll get back to that. That's what makes a home theater enthusiast. Netflix, boom, play in my Atmos soundbar system, and it's a cinematic experience. The visual, the sound, I was like, this is crazy. What took me so long to watch this movie? But now I'm having fun with other movies, including the Formula One Drive to Survive series, which we had you can see the Klipsch headphones with the McLaren team, which is really cool. But of course, the cars, the sound, and getting to know those drivers and the teams, it's just so cool. But of course, Atmos, it's on Netflix, it's fantastic. And then there are other titles. I will say there are titles you can find them. Some of the series, it was the new Jack Ryan series on Prime, which was really cool in Atmos.
Yeah.
And some Disney Plus titles, like I believe The Mandalorian was in Atmos. So very cool stuff out there. Have fun, everybody.
Yes.
But you don't have to have a room full of gear to be a home theater enthusiast. You just need a Cinema 1200 or Cinema 800.
I will just mention very quickly because I know we're running late on time, but I've been enjoying the heck out of the Marvel series Loki. If you guys have not been watching Loki, what's great about that I find is the dynamic range, because there could be entire planets exploding, and then the very next scene you've got two people talking face to face very close, and so it gets real tight and then real expansive. It does a really great job with Atmos, just feeling, especially that interplanetary stuff, you're feeling like you're out in the middle of space, or in these vast spaces. So I highly recommend Loki.
Yeah. Man, I just watched Godzilla versus Kong, which was like
surprisingly entertaining.
Oh, absolutely entertaining. I thrive on just scorched earth. Like, let's burn this all down, and that's a great movie for that. But it's a great demo with this size of a sub. Obviously, you have these two adorable animals that are just stories and stories tall, and they're kicking each other in the face and stomping on these buildings, and you need a sub that keeps up with that.
Okay, I'm gonna watch that now. I'm gonna watch it.
There's a lot of 12 hertz happening in that.
Yes. Yeah. You just feel it. You feel it.
Oh. Well, before we close, is there any other questions anybody wants? And I want to just maintain that's how you win the prize, is to answer a question in the chat.
So there is a to ask a question in the chat, right?
Yes.
I think you said answer. Okay.
Sorry, not answer.
So there are a couple things that I want to address. One of the questions, and of course I can't find it now, asked about software and app compatibility. And we have launched these bars as they are. They are compatible with the Klipsch Connect app. What that gets you today is essentially set up and onboarding. It'll walk you through the setup of the bar, all of the different ways to connect it. It will also give you a direct connection to our customer service team. If you have any issues setting that bar up, if Mark mentioned the settings in your TV, if you need help with those, you can have a direct phone call straight to our customer service team. On August 30th, we are launching a new feature set in that app that allows you EQ adjustment, independent level control adjustment for each channel. So not only can you adjust the level of the surrounds and the height effects, but you can adjust the level of the center channel, the left channel, the right channel, and additional EQing and adjustment for those extremely powerful subwoofers in case you don't like low frequencies.
Fantastic. That answers that question.
To answer everyone's question, August 30th. But the bars are shipping now. It is a kick-ass, best-in-class, out-of-box experience. Plug and play. You're ready to go. So,
Mike, I love it when you get fired up too. And I have to say that people may be looking at the price on these things, but I will say, man, selling audio systems 30 years ago in retail, what you can get today for the price of this bar, you don't need an AVR. You don't need all the complexity of wires. HDMI has evolved where it's really easy. It's really good timing with HDMI. This is just almost a golden moment for the ease and the performance. They're coming together, the remotes, the remote working for everything. It's just an amazing collision of great technologies reinforcing the customer who just doesn't want the hassle. How many people go to, I'll just say at Costco, you go in there, you're looking at these big TVs and you're immediately jonesing because you're thinking about what you have at home. And then they're like, oh, but the other part of it is so complicated. I don't want to deal with it. I'll just, my home theater will be a big TV. Well, now you have this killer, easy solution for the sound.
Yep.
And it is just an exciting time for people who just never before wanted to deal with it. They just didn't want to deal with it. And now it's easy and it's going to blow their minds how great it can be.
Yep.
And I just threw up a picture of the back of the bar. That's going to answer half the questions out there. How many HDMI ports does it have? What are the, what's the connectivity and all that? So now is the time to take your screenshot.
or go to klipsch.com.
Yeah.
And I think right now they're on the homepage. So you can look up all the photos of these bars, high-res photos. watch the videos that we watched earlier, the video that we watched earlier, and more, and get all the information you need. Spec sheets, so all of you, frequency response nerds can look into the frequency response, the max out of the bar, everything you need to know. It's nice to know we are here with some techies, and it's not just us. So
I think we're going to have to do a how-to next round because maybe people will be getting really close to getting it at home, and I think a part 2 would be fun if you guys are up for it.
Hey,
I'd love to.
You know where to find me.
Tips and tricks. And maybe we close out this session. Britt, I'm going to put you on the spot, and maybe we show the lifestyle video that we're getting ready to launch out with these bars. And I would point everybody to Klipsch.com to check it out. Cool. Thanks, Brittany. Sweet. Well, guys, we are at our time.
Man, it always blows by. It goes by so fast.
It really does. But I appreciate the conversation around these sound bars. I know there's been a lot of talk, been a lot of hype. There's been a lot of wait. But we are so excited to launch this stuff. And I got to tell you, as a beta tester for this product, I had to consider whether I was going to take the Fortes out of the living room and just leave the sound bar and find another dedicated spot because we were using it so much. As a 2-channel audiophile, I consider myself an audiophile. I would highly endorse the sound that you're getting out of this bar and the convenience of setting it up with one plug. That's fantastic.
Let me do a mention real quick to our dealers and channels and partners. If you heard this at the trade show, at CES, a couple shows here and there, the actual article, The Real McCoy, is that and more. It is so powerful. You're going to have a lot of fun with this. And we're going to put a lot of smiles on people's faces, and invite your neighbors over. Just a heads up, invite them over if you're going to turn it up, because they're going to be at your front door one way or another. So make it fun.
And Mike, what's that? The date for the app update for the all the other delighters that are going into it?
August 30th.
August 30th for all the control. That's very cool.
Yes, indeed. Now, one last thing. A lot of people are asking, where can you get the new soundbars? Where are they shipping? Audioadvice.com, Crutchfield.com, or Klipsch.com. Take your pick. Those are the 3 exclusive launch partners for these bars right now. If you're in the US, if you are in anywhere else in the world, thank you for joining. Please reach out to your local dealer or distributor to find out when you can purchase.
And Audio Advice, I know, has done not only a complete review of the bar, very in-depth, very long review, but also they've done a tips and tricks segment of how to, sort of life hack the bar. That's pretty cool as well.
Very cool.
I love that they're doing that.
Yeah.
Great, guys. Well, thank you so much for joining us, man. Everybody.
Yeah.
It's a great session.
Thanks, everybody. We will, is Britt telling us to wrap it up?
Yeah, we're getting a little bit of this.
Probably.
She's going to play it. All right. Thanks,
Cheers,
Britt.
everybody.
Thanks, everybody.
Happy summer. stay safe, everybody. Keep watching lots of movies and listening to lots of music. Enjoy.
Absolutely. Happy summer.
Take care.